Hey everyone, welcome back to Question Everything, where we question everything. I apologize in advance because this video is going to be all over the place, bouncing around, multiple different topics, but they're all connected, so it makes sense. And it's also going to be a two-parter. In the third episode, we went over our basic needs as humans, and autonomy was the 6th out of 7 needs total. So let's define some terms. Question everything, question everything, question everything, question everything. Why? Disclaimer, I am not an expert on these subjects I discuss in these videos. I only share information that I've personally done my research on, or relaying an expert's message. My goal or intention with these videos is to cultivate understanding, awareness, and acknowledge real-life issues that we as humans face. I do hold certain opinions about these subjects, and so bias can play a role in the way information is shared. I would also like to acknowledge that the way we perceive the world individually can be vastly different from one another, and that's good. However, it's also good to look at things from another perspective when learning about reality, otherwise our biased views can become harmful. Freedom is the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Autonomy is the capacity of an agent to act in accordance with objective morality rather than under the influence of desires, or the freedom from external control or influence. Independence. Now, agency is the capacity of individuals to act independently and to make their own free choices based on their will. Again, people in America talk about their freedoms quite often, especially in times when they feel it's being hindered. This is important for all humans because it's connected to anger, or better defined as perceived injustice. A crime can be defined as an action or activity that, although not illegal, is considered to be evil, shameful, or wrong. Or an action or omission that constitutes an offense that may be prosecuted by the state and is punishable by law. Okay. That's a lot of definitions, a lot of information that I'm throwing at you in the beginning, but we're gonna try getting into the basics. Okay, so thinking of common crimes would be things like theft, murder, and assault of any kind. Why are these considered to be crimes? We can start by answering, what do they all have in common? During a theft, someone's property is being taken or used against their will. Murdering someone takes away their life against their will. Assault, whether sexual in nature or not, is violating the individual's free will by revoking consent. It is clear that these violate one's free will or remove the room for choices they would normally make. So all criminals must lack empathy and are just evil, right? If they're willing to violate another person's autonomy for the sake of personal gain or otherwise, that must be true. False. Crimes are committed for various different reasons, which is why the court system has trouble with cases sometimes, along with inadequate or unreliable evidence. What if they killed someone in self-defense? They ended their life intentionally, so regardless of the context, they should be punished in accordance with the law, right? Well, the justice system is messy, and there will always be exceptions. However, there are far too many examples to go through them individually, so I'll keep it as simple as possible. Typically, what are some reasons that people commit crimes? Biological, psychological, social, and economic factors play a huge part in the motivation for this type of behavior. Being born into poor socioeconomic conditions or with genetics that might have vulnerabilities for mental and physical issues is difficult. Those factors can be intensified by family situations or other things that are out of the individual's control, but that can all be reduced with money, which is the real problem here. Just think about it. Say you are born into poverty in a BIPOC family who's genetically predisposed to addiction. Not only are any opportunities going to be made exceedingly more difficult to attain due to systematic racism, but mental health will be negatively affected by stigma and stereotypes surrounding that. Substance abuse can be caused by genetic vulnerability, environmental stressors, social pressures, individual personality characteristics, and psychiatric problems. Do most people have a prejudice against people who struggle with substance abuse? I don't have an answer, but I can definitely say that those who choose to only see people in a negative light instead of the humans they are clearly don't sympathize. They are human beings who might not be able to control the many factors that contribute to addiction or dependence. Access to decent healthcare or therapy is costly. Either they're homeless, in poverty, or using their income for the drugs that they are addicted to. On the flip side, rich people easily have access to drugs and are just as susceptible, especially since there's more of a chance to having consistent access to them. Drugs can be a form of escape for many, and it's easier to depend on than, say, the American healthcare system. It's time for a mindful moment. We can take a moment to check in with ourselves.
You're such a simp.
Okay, what is a simp?
It's when you're nice to women so they'll have sex with you. But you won't because you're dumb.
Okay, so you're calling me entitled and manipulative?
No, I said the word I made
Because
up.
nobody owes anyone sex or their bodily autonomy just because someone is manipulating them and being fake.
I'm just trying to say that you're too nice to women.
So you literally can't conceive of empathy without an ulterior motive?
If you keep talking like this, you're gonna end up in the friend zone.
Whoa, that sounds so cool.
The phantom zone, but the opposite, with friends. Men have it hard too. We have to provide.
Not anymore.
We have to protect.
From other men.
We pay for dinner.
Dismantle the patriarchy and you don't have to.
We at least deserve to get laid at the end of the day, don't we?
Let me see if I have the math right here. Society has forced women into a purity culture that also objectifies them sexually at a disturbingly young age, subjects them to SA, catcalls, and normalized misogyny. And then you wonder why they don't have a boner for you when you try to coerce them into sex with dinner?
All I heard was boner.
So you're the simp, if that's a thing.
What?
Well, you keep talking about everything you do to manipulate women for control of their bodies. So that's what you said a simp is.
What?
Also, are you that bad in bed?
No.
Because I'm pretty sure women would rather have an orgasm than a blooming onion at Outback Steakhouse.
I have had sex with hundreds of women.
Well, you know what they say? A piece of bread that's been in lots of toasters is just burnt toast.
What are you talking? What does that mean? I don't appreciate being compared to an object.
It's a thing.
Bread and toasters aren't people. It's more complicated than that. You're hurting my feelings.
What's a hill that you're willing to die on 1,000% of the time?
Capitalism has normalized slave labor to the point that we think it is a flex. Having 4, 5, 6, 7 jobs is not a flex. Am I knocking people for having multiple jobs? Not in the slightest. I understand the situation we're in, but it's not a flex. Team no sleep is not a flex. If you do not get sleep, you will literally die. It is a torture method, and I believe the CIA uses it. Oh, well, you just gotta grind. If you grind your teeth, you will no longer have teeth. The definition of grinding literally says to reduce something to small particles or dust by crushing it. That being said, what do we think is going to happen to our bodies with all these years of us grinding? Hard work does not pay off. If it did, a lot of us would be rich right now. Extortion, however, definitely pays off, which is why the 1% are in the position that they're in. But hard work, not in the slightest, doesn't pay off at all. I know people who died working 4, 5, 6 jobs. I'm not knocking none of the hustlers. I'm just knocking capitalism.
Now, I've touched on many different but connected topics in this already, but let's go back to the first part. Having control over our choices in a capitalist society can feel complicated. Like, the illusion of choice is there, when in reality we're choosing to either ignore our human needs to work more hours, or go into debt for choosing to look after ourselves, and then receiving negative criticism on top of that, being gaslit into believing that taking care of ourselves is a bad thing. Insert the Kim K quote. It seems like nobody wants to work these days. You have to surround yourself with people who want to work. We're very much so pressured by societal expectations of what the ideal person looks like that we're self-critical to the point that our own autonomy is put on the back burner. We're trying so hard to please everyone around us that our own choices are being influenced externally rather than by ourselves and what we want. This is exactly the opposite of autonomy, aka dependence. This is just part 1. We're gonna go into more of this in the next episode, but until then, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you're new, then I would suggest hitting that subscribe button down below. Or you can check out some of my other videos over here. I've got playlists, links, wherever. One more thing, because I always forget, and I don't think I've actually spoken this on my channel yet, but I have a podcast, and I just posted the last 6th episode yesterday. If you'd like to check that out, links in the description below. But that is all, so have a fan-freaking-tastic day, and don't forget to question everything.